Welcome back, guys. In this training, we'll be learning about stop losses. Okay, so as we see in the top left on our rules, on the uptrend, stop loss is placed slightly below the previous high or low. Okay, so we're going to do one at a time. We'll work with the uptrend first. Okay, so if we were to get in at the retest of the previous high, right, at this high or low right here, we actually use, okay, perfect. So if we was to get in at this high or low right here, right, as our entry, our stop loss, according to our rules, our stop loss is telling us that it goes slightly below the previous high or low, right? So if we're entering at this high or low right here, right, where's the previous high or low? Simply just look to your left on the chart, and you will see our high or low, previous high or low is right here. Okay, so our rule tells us we place our stop loss slightly below. Okay, so the blue represents my entry, okay, and the red is representing my stop loss. Okay, so we'll do one more example. Right, if we were to enter now at this high or low, right, our stop loss, according to our rules, is placed slightly below the previous high or low. Right, so if we're entering here at this high or low, this is not the previous high or low. So we would not place our stop loss slightly under this high or low. We got to look at the previous high or low before this one, right? Which is all the way down here. Right, so your stop loss would go slightly below the previous high or low. Okay, and now on an uptrend, that was an uptrend. So now on a downtrend, okay, stop loss is placed slightly above the previous lower high. Okay, so again, same concept. If we were to enter in at the lower high, right? If we was to enter in at the lower high, our stop loss is placed slightly above the previous lower high. So we wouldn't place it up here, right? This is not the previous lower high. That's the current lower high. Okay. So we look to our left again. Okay. And we see our lower high, the previous lower high is up here. Okay, so we're placing our stop loss slightly above. Okay. And again, one more example of downtrend before we move to the chart. If we was to get in, okay, at this lower high, at the retest of the lower low, right, our stop loss is placed slightly above the previous lower high, right? So it wouldn't be right here, right, because this is the current lower high. Again, so we would enter into this trade, right, at the current lower high, stop loss placed at the previous lower high, slightly above. Make sure it's slightly above. Okay, so it's not right at the lower high. It's not, an inch above, right? Give it a little gap. Okay. So now we'll see what that looks like on the chart. Okay. So I'm going to use the Playback Feature. Okay, so we know on an uptrend, You know, on an uptrend, stop loss is placed slightly below the previous high or low, right? So first things first, gotta identify the trend. So you gotta know if it's an uptrend or a downtrend, right? So first things first. So boom, trades making higher highs. There's a higher low. Okay. So now we're looking for a higher high to be formed. And at the higher low is where we are going to buy. Okay. So now we're waiting for break. Okay, now we're waiting for a pullback to create the higher low, which is around right where I have it. It should come down to here. So boom. Right now we're in the trade. Let me get out clips. Okay. So right here is where we entered. Right at the retest of the previous higher high. Okay. So our stop loss, I'm going to use a rectangle for this one. Our stop loss, according to our rules, on an uptrend, is placed slightly below the previous high or low, right? So if we're anticipating this to be a higher low, right, because we're buying here, if we're anticipating this to be the higher low, our stop loss would not go here, right? Because this is the current higher low, right? So our stop loss is going at the previous higher low, which is right here, right? This is the previous higher low. So slightly, stop loss is being placed slightly below. So here's our stop loss, okay? And another thing, our stop loss, okay? So to find stop loss, so to find stop loss, lower the time frames to 15 minutes or below. Okay, so before you enter in the trade, right, you want to find your stop loss on the 15-minute time frame or below, right? Because right here, right, we're on the day time frame. I did this on purpose. Okay, right here we're on the day time frame, and right, we entered up here. Look at our stop loss, right? 833 pips. I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to risk 833 pips, right? That's way too big. Okay, so scroll down to 15-minute time frame, and then from there find the previous lower high. Okay, so on the 15-minute, we're buying right here still. Okay, we put that little. Okay, we're still buying right here. Okay, so the previous lower high, right? If we look here, right, we're buying. This is the same lower high as the past, right? Previous lower high from the past that was retesting the previous high, right? So we see the previous lower high from where we are right now was right here. Okay, it was right here. So again, our stop loss is placed slightly below the previous lower high, but that's roughly right here. Whoops, roughly right here. Give us some space. Boom. Okay. So now let's look how many pips that is. Okay. Now this is 62 pips compared to 833. okay? Now, if you go down some more in the time frame, so instead of 15, go to 5, right? And find the previous lower high. So in this case, the 15 and the 5 happen to be in the same place. Okay, happens to be in the same place. So that means our stop loss is cool. It's cool where it's at. Okay. Okay, and on a downtrend, let me find a downtrend for you guys real quick. All right, perfect. So we have a nice downtrend right here. We have a start of a downtrend, right? We have a higher high right here. Okay, and the reason why this is a higher high, because before any of this was here, right? That's what it looked like. So it would be a higher high. Okay. So as the trade continued, right? We're seeing we made a lower high. Okay, lower high. Okay, so we're seeing, right? We came from a higher high, and the trade made a lower high. So now all we're waiting for is a lower low to form. So we're waiting for our low point to be broken and retested, and we're looking to sell. We're looking for for price to keep decreasing. Right? So we wouldn't sell up here, right? Because we only have one lower high. That doesn't tell me nothing, right? It's not making lower lows and lower highs. That's just one lower high. Okay, so it's not a downtrend yet, but it's a start. Okay, it's a possible start. So we'll see where this trade can lose. Okay, boom. Now a lower low has been formed. So now you can tell yourself, boom, this is a downtrend. Okay, I'm looking to sell. Okay, so now that you have the trend, now you are looking to sell. So you know your entry, right? Because we only enter in off of retest. So you know your entry is somewhere up here when it comes to retest the higher low up here. Okay. Okay, so we're waiting for the retest, right? Boom. Got your retest, got your entry. And we enter right there. Right? And our rules tell us on a downtrend, right? On a downtrend, stop loss is placed slightly above the previous lower high. Right, stop loss is placed slightly above the previous lower high. So the previous lower high that we have marked up is up here, right? But this is on a 4-hour chart. Again, remember, always drop down the time frames. Right? You can find the trade on the 4-hour just like we did right here, but not your stop loss. Okay, so drop down to the 15-minute. Okay, and look at the previous lower high. Okay, which is up here. We got this little spike, so we got to count for that too. So our stop loss is placed slightly above. Okay, slightly above. Now you see, it's not OD. You know what I'm saying? Just give yourself a little gap. Okay, if it helps, you can put a finger, your index finger, right above, right on the wick of the lower high, and then place your lines right above your finger. Right, if that helps, if you don't know how big of a gap you should give yourself, put one finger on the screen and make your line slightly above. Okay, so this right here is our stop loss. Okay, so now we found our stop loss. Now let's see how this trade interacted. Let's see what happens. Okay, again, this little eclipse right here is our entry. Okay, we got our entry again at the retest of our lower low. Okay, and as you see, boom, the trade took off. All right, so from there, you can then move your stop loss to break even and have a risk-free trade. Right, nothing to worry about. Okay, that's going to conclude today's training on stop losses. I'll see you on the next one. Deuces.